Hey everyone, it's me, coming on strong. Hope you're feeling blessed no matter where you are. If you clicked on this video, it's because there comes a time in all of our lives that we're asked to make very tough decisions. Tough decisions about our life path, tough decisions about our faith, tough decisions about those around us, and specifically those around us. Because as we acclimate and rise in our resonance and in our frequency, you start to notice that those that are not with you anymore kind of fall away, and it's not even by sheer forcing out, but of design and will of self. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because tomorrow I'm going to be taking a long trip for a friend of mine, one of my oldest friends. I'd go to the ends of the earth for her, and if I didn't find it hot here, I guess I'm going to find it hotter where we land tomorrow. I'm not going to tell you guys where, because I want to surprise you guys on lives when I come on live in the next couple days. But I was thinking about my relationship with her and how it's one of the oldest ones I have. We were 4 years old when we met. We used to ride bicycles around the block together, and she stuck through thick and thin with me. Even at my darkest times, she always loved me for who I was, and vice versa. But I did have friends just as long historied, just as important, supposedly, and they don't stand here with me today, and I'm not getting on a plane to travel with them. And it's simply because there was a shift in these last years that a lot of us found. This may have happened during COVID for a lot of us, but even after COVID taught us a lot about what's important and not. And in the terms of COVID too, a lot of us found our spiritual awakening. So when that took place, we noticed that either easily or, not to mention by force, in the terms of universal force, a lot of persons were pushed out. The reason why some people can't come with us, and we must say to them, this is where I leave you. God enforces this within us because we are meant to go farther and deeper into the everlasting universe of self. And these persons that cannot meet you where you are have to fall away. And that is not something simple, it's not something easy, but it is something necessary. And if you're someone who is just experiencing this for the first time, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's friends. For me, it was both. I must have given up hundreds of acquaintances and friends within these last years. And I noticed that how this all came to pass in the last week. A lot of people that I was talking to were telling me about their experiences, about friends dragging them down, about friends that they're holding on to, about friends that don't really help them, and it was mainly to do with history. So I wanted to speak to the older version of self that I was, so I can show that compassion and understanding. So I can say, hey guys, I was where you were, and I'll show you the things that I needed to do to, cleanse my path of all these persons. So I had, I'd say about 5 good girlfriends when I was growing up, all through my life. I'm 40 now. I met most of them when I was like 5 onward. One of them was my cousin, so we knew each other since like birth. And because of history, I found myself always self-sacrificing. A lot of us that are on this video right now tend to be persons that are, let's say, the meeker type. We tend to be what people will call the pushovers, the nice guys, and or those that, kind of get thrown under the bus, or that try to be there for the friends no matter what. And I know because I did this. I was the type of person who was always there for my friends, even though they weren't there for me. Now the thing is that I can't fault them, okay? When the time came that I had to say goodbye, I realized that it really wasn't their fault, okay? All these persons that you're gonna have to give up, or you will willingly give up, or not so willingly give up, it's really not their fault. There's a lie, there's a story, there's a position or placement that you put upon yourself that you demanded of yourself to wear, to hold, to be. I remember a time where I didn't get many phone calls from these friends. I was self-inviting myself to get-togethers. I was trying to get involved and help and aid wherever I could, even though I wasn't getting that reciprocal or that feeling back. And I remember telling myself like, oh, I'm the glue. I'm the good friend. I'm the one who keeps us all together. I'm the one that tries hard because that's who I am. They're not that station. I'm that station. So when I wouldn't get called as much, or when I wasn't invited as much as I should have been, I took it internally. And a lot of the times when they did call me, it was with their problems, it was with their neuroses, it was with their obsessive compulsive behaviors, things that they were struggling with. It was never a good call. It was never a call like, hey, how's it going? How's your life going? It was always them in a dilemma, trying to suck my energy, trying to get me to help them, and them never asking me how I was. And I suffered through that for many years. And some of us may victimize ourselves and say, hey, they were bad friends. But that's not the truth. The truth is that you were a bad friend to you. Because if another person you knew or cared about or loved explained some of these situations to you, your advice would be, hey, maybe they're not right for you. Maybe you should move on. Maybe you should let them go. And I noticed I spoke to about 3 or 4 persons, both 2 males and 2 females, ironically. One was my, an old school colleague. I ran into him, and he was telling me about how him and his wife didn't work out. Now, remember, I'm a higher self channeler. I channeled this message for him about 1.5 years ago, and I said, you and your wife aren't going to work out. But in this moment in time, he was facing it. And the entire time, all he kept saying was talking about her faults, her reasons, why things didn't work out, never taking true responsibility, never seeing that maybe things just fall away, and complaining at the fact that it was her loss. And not to say that it wasn't, but the fact is that he was taking it from a stance like, oh, she's going to see, she'll find out, but really not ever taking it in like, hey, maybe I'm better off. He had met somebody new that he really cared about, and this woman seems fantastic and can give him everything he needs. So the dilemma becomes, when do we realize that these relationships don't just solely fall away because they are the problem, but they fall away because we want more, or we accept that we were the failure to ourselves. These friends that I spoke of, right, in my own life, there came a point where I was like, it's not their fault that they have these neuroses. It's not their fault that they call me with problems. This is the dynamic that I created. I became that crutch. I became that person. I became that strength where I can never then ask them for the same. So realistically, I created the dynamic that was my own downfall. So when the time came that the Lord and God showed me like, hey, you're moving on up, you're moving on out, this is where you leave them. It was such an interesting predicament. It was such an interesting situation that I had to follow up with one of the friends, and then all of them sided with her. And rightfully so, because they were at the same level. They were at the same headspace. They were at the same place, whereas I was not. No longer anyways. So much so that when my ex and I broke up, a lot of them participated with him, forgetting all the 30-something years. And the old me probably would have taken that personally. The old me probably would have been offended. The old me probably would have been like, oh my God, how dare they? That's what a lot of people expected. That's what a lot of people would expect of you. To have the nonchalantness that you may have as you, exit the relationships might be something that you may not have been like before. Because I never was. I hopeless romantic. Even with my own friends, I always felt like, I always used to think of yonder years when we were really close and really tight, always hoping and wishing that would reemerge. But it could not be so. And it shouldn't be so, because people always evolve and change. But especially for those that are evolving in a spiritual nature, because it's like if the soul, it keeps igniting and growing and expanding, especially for myself being more of an esoteric hearted person. I knew that I had to leave them where they were and be okay with that, because it wasn't their fault that they were where they are. I mean, it is technically, but it's not. And then out of all those hundreds of persons, I was left with 2 of those 5. 2 of them grew with me. 2 of them remember who I am all along. And when I was going through these other talks, like for example, I was speaking to another woman, and she's somebody I'm coaching. She's somebody that has a very lovely gift, amazing gift, a laying of hands gift, right? But she's new to it. And she was telling me about a good friend of hers that she's known since childhood, that she finds is like she's dragging and dragging and dragging. A lot of us feel as we come on these journeys like it's our job to save people. And that is not true. This was a lie I told myself to. For some reason, I felt like I was better suited to take the burdens. I was better suited to try to enliven everyone in my grouping. I was there to be that rock for everyone. But I was never really internally looking at myself and saying to myself, have I healed me? Am I really that strong? Did these things not offend me? They did. And just because I was maybe strong enough to swallow them doesn't mean that they didn't hurt. Doesn't mean that they didn't break me. Doesn't mean that I didn't cry many nights to sleep, you know? And the thing is that when this woman was describing her story, I saw a lot of parallel in myself about 5 years, 7 years back, where I was like, yeah, I remember what it was like. She said to me, she's like, I can't abandon her. But what we don't realize is that this person, if they truly loved you, truly, they'd let you go. Because if you're going to only have a dynamic with someone where all they can provide you is sorrow, neuroses, anxiety, baggage, pain, and even though they might not conceptually understand that they're doing this, if they are somewhat intuitively and or emotionally sound of mind, if they love you, they'll let you go. I had friends of mine that did this too, and I totally respected them. They fully told me. It was kind of like, with Good Will Hunting at the end, when Matt Damon says to his friends, nah, man, I want to stay here and do construction for the rest of my life. And Ben Affleck turns around and goes, hey, bro, if you're still here in 10 years doing this shit, I'll kill you myself. That's a good friend. Ben Affleck knew he was going to lose Matt that day because it was the right thing to do. Matt was expanding. Matt was getting bigger. Matt was going to do something monumental. And that person knew that they were not. And the only thing they could do to be a really good friend was to let him go, was to give a blessing, was to say, this is where I leave you. Because you are meant to do bigger things. You are not meant to carry this weight. You don't get to miss out on the biggest experience of your lifetime. So when all of this expansion hits us in our spiritual awakening, and a lot of persons start to really either get anxious, disturbed by your presence, or they don't know how to treat you, or they don't know how to be in the same space with you anymore, it's not really you. I mean, it is you because you're growing. It is you because you're expanding. It is you because you're emanating something out of the realms of what they can comprehend. But it's not you in the sense that you've changed as a loving individual. It's not you in the way that you've changed as a funny human being. It's not you in the way that you've changed about what your capabilities are as a friend. But it's really because they just don't know how to meet you where you are anymore. So I really think that because of these conversations I had, and because of what I'm about to do tomorrow, I really started thinking about how great it is to have those that meet you where you are. And even if it is 2 out of hundreds, at least it's 2 solid people versus hundreds of non-committed, don't know how to take you, don't understand you, keep you at arm's length people, right? And it's an amazing thing as we continue on our journey, because what I said to this woman, right, was that, yeah, I lost hundreds of people. And yeah, you coming onto your laying of hands journey, you're going to lose people too, because they won't understand what you're capable of. But what I said to her was like, you would not believe the amount of great, amazing people that I got to, like, once that space became open, it's like, imagine you have a restaurant and all of a sudden you have all these available tables in your restaurant. Now you're filling them with so many different new people, so many more new and exciting experiences. I feel like all the persons I met in the last couple of years are volumes and decades ahead emotionally than those that I left behind and those that you will leave behind. And don't ever feel like you are abandoning. This is what I had to coach this woman on. I'm like, you're not abandoning her. You can love her from where you stand. You can love her from an arm's length if you need to, and vice versa. Even though your friend can't come on the journey with you, doesn't mean you lose that love. That always stays with you. That's how I feel about all my old friends. Even though they did very wrong things to me, I did really wrong things to them too. Because realistically, I wasn't being a good friend by being there around them, only as a fraction of the full embodied friend that they might have needed, because the compatibility level wasn't there anymore. I couldn't be involved in what they were very interested in, or I couldn't be there to slander other people, especially in a woman's world. Like, I'm not about gossip. I'm not about, belittling persons. And unfortunately, my old friends, they love to do that. Like, they were the types to watch the Kardashians and to watch Love is Blind and all these other, like, romantic shows that I had no interest in. I couldn't talk to them about books. I couldn't talk to them about all of my spiritual stuff. So realistically, we were imbalanced. We were never going to see eye to eye. But I can love them for their passion. I can love them for where they stand at this moment. You can love them for all that they are. And even though you may not be in the same place, doesn't mean that love disappears. So I wanted to say this because I know that a lot of persons I'm running into are going through this sacrificial lamb dispelling, because that's what it really is. You start to say, it's okay for me to walk into my greatness. It's okay to walk into my power, just like Matt Damon had to in Good Will Hunting. He had to walk away from those friends in order to achieve everything he was going to achieve. And that's okay, because he could still love his friends and his friends could still love him. I'm sorry I'm using this analogy, but it's very true. Because most of us don't even know how much more there is to grow. We're just expanding and expanding and expanding. So even though we continue to expand and we're going to weave new friendships and grow into different ways of being, it's not like it's not hard, but it's necessary, because it's like a flower, that you put in a pot, and eventually that flower keeps growing, and you got to move it into a bigger pot and a bigger pot and a bigger pot. If you keep yourself in the smaller pot, you know what nature does? It keeps you in a smaller frame of flower. So if you're somebody who's scared to make that leap, to branch out of your family set, to branch out of your friends, to branch out of a relationship, you don't really know how far you can grow when you're limited in a smaller pot. You really will only know what your capabilities are when you're given free reign in a larger existence and more soil, to see how great you can become. So you must look at it this way. If they really love you and you really love them, you'll let them go. And if they really love you, they'll let you go. And it's not fair to hold any of that against each other, because there was love and that doesn't disappear. Much like energy, I don't think love ever dies. I think it just morphs, it changes. And like I was telling those persons I ran into this week that were struggling and going through the same thing I had to go through years ago, as I started on my journey especially, it all coalesced, it all condensed together. This is a part of it. And if you have any questions, or you're really sad and lonely, or you're really befuddled or worried or litigious, or you have any emotions and you can't really cope, that's how I felt back then, feel free to message me. But it is part of it, and you'll be okay. And I'm literally going to go get on a plane, because I go to the ends of the earth for this friend. She's been to the ends of the earth for me, emotionally, mentally, physically. So the next time you see me, guys, I'm going to be somewhere in the Estados Unidos. I can't believe I'm going to this place in July. It's going to be hella hot. Oh, but it's going to be hella fun, because I'm with somebody that's with me for the long run. See you guys next time. Love you lots.